Hey guys, okay, today we're going to talk about solving one variable equations. Our we will statement, that's our learning standard, what we should be able to do by the end of the day. It says we will solve linear equations in one variable, including those for which the application of the distributive property is necessary and for which there are variables on both sides. Okay, so again, we want to ask, what are they wanting us to do? Well, they want us to solve. That's our verb. And what do they want us to solve? Well, linear equations. Okay, so when I think of linear, that should make you think of what shape? Hopefully a line, all right? So we're talking about if we put these into a graphing calculator, they would give us a straight line, okay? But that's a side note, all right? They also tell us that the distributive property is going to be included. Remember, parentheses tell us to do what? Multiply. Okay, so see if you can squeeze that in. All right, parentheses always tell us to multiply. That's your distributive property. If you have parentheses, you have to do that first. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's actually talk about the steps for solving equations, and then we'll do some examples. Okay, so first step in the we will statement, it talked about distributive property. So I have to use the distributive property first to get rid of any parentheses. And you can check my spelling on parentheses. Hopefully I spelled it right. Okay. So that's step one. So if I see any parentheses, I have to do that first. You can think order of operations, PEMDAS, okay? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, okay? I used to hate that, but it does help you remember it. And that P stands for parentheses. That comes first, okay? Parentheses, all right? And you might even put like a little multiply beside it. Okay, parentheses tell us to multiply. Okay, step two, combine like terms. So I'm going to combine like terms. I want to put my x's with my x's, my constants with my constants, any other variables that you have. In this case, we're only going to see one variable. So that means you're only going to have, let's say, x's or y's. You're not going to have them combined together. So you wouldn't have like an x and a y in the same equation for us in Algebra 1, okay, because that's not part of our TEK. All right, so that's step two. Okay, now I teach solving equations a little differently because I think it works. And if you can find a process that works for you, and if you get in a routine of doing it, then it makes it a lot easier and you can, be very successful at this. All right, so I say letters, which hopefully you remember those are our variables. Fancy math word for letters. Okay, we're going to say letters to the left. Okay, so letters to the left, that's our first part of it. All right, now in order to do this without changing the equation, I have to do the inverse or the opposite. So I have to either add or subtract. All right, and we'll go into more detail with that. Okay, but we're going to go letters to the left. Okay, then we're going to go numbers. Whoops, drawing all over it again. Let's do this. Sorry, guys. No, that's not what I want. Okay, I had to pause it because I was having some technical difficulties, but we're back. All right. So we talked about letters to the left. Okay, so we do that by doing the inverse, which is adding or subtracting. Those are opposite each other. Okay, so the opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is addition. Okay, so hang on to that. All right. So the next step would be to do numbers or constants to the right. Okay, again, by doing the inverse or the opposite. Okay, so think add or subtract. Okay, so we went letters to the left, numbers to the right. Now, divide, divide. Okay, so letters to the left, numbers to the right, divide, divide. Okay, so you'll see me do that a lot, but it works for me, so hopefully it'll work for you. Last step, we always want to check our work, and how we do this is we're going to check our solution. Solution, fancy word for the answer, by substitution. Okay, aka plug it in, plug it in. Okay, you can even go Google plug it in, old commercial, you can watch it. Okay, so plug it in, plug it in. There you go. That's about all I'm going to sing. Okay. All right. So now let's look at an example. Okay. So when we talk about going through these steps, like on this first example, so it says, what is the solution to the following equation? Okay, so this is how it's going to be worded on your EOC. I know I hate that word. I hate star tests, whatever. Okay. But this is a very good skill that you need, not only for the EOC, but for college and your upper level math. Okay. All right. So remember I said solution. Okay. That right there, all that means is I want the answer. Okay. I want X. I want to find out what X is equal to. Okay, so let's go through these steps. All right, I have found that it is highly beneficial if you draw a line right down the equal sign. I have to think of both sides as separate. So I've got my left side and I've got my right side, and they have to be equal to each other. Okay, for this to be a true statement. Okay, and if I do that, it helps me keep my equation balanced and I don't change the problem. All right. So if I look over to my left, what was our first step? Distribute. Okay. So I look, do I have any parentheses in this equation? I don't. So I get to skip that step. Yay. Okay. Second step, combine like terms. Okay. Now I'm going to do it separately on the left side. So I want to look, do I have anything that I can combine? 4x plus 6. Okay, I don't. All right, so let's look at the right side. 36. Do I have anything else I can combine with it on that side? No, I don't. So I actually get to skip this step as well. Yay. All right. So now we're going to go letters to the left. Okay. So before I do that, I am actually going to use two different colors, and I'm going to highlight my variables in one color and my constants in the other. Okay. So I am going to use blue for my x's, and then we'll use pink for my constants. Okay, and hopefully you can still see that. All right. So I said letters to the left. Now, do I have a blue over here with my 36? I don't. So all of my letters or my variables are actually already on the left. So step 3, again, we can skip. Okay, so we went letters to the left, it's already over there, and now let's do numbers to the right. So I want to get rid of this plus 6 by moving it to the other side. Now I have a plus 6 right here. Okay, Now, I don't want to change the problem, okay? So I have to do the inverse or the opposite, okay? So again, if you think back to what I talked about earlier, what is the opposite of adding something? Subtracting, okay? So I want to subtract 6, okay? Now, whatever I do on one side, I have to do to the other. So if I said minus 6 here, well, then I'm going to do minus 6 here. And notice how I went pink with pink, okay? Those are constants. I can combine those, pink with pink. Okay, so I have positive 6 minus 6. So if I put that in my calculator, I would get a big fat 0. Okay, those cancel each other out. All right, now 36 minus 6. Okay, again, I'd put that in my calculator and I get a 30. So I'm going to bring everything else down. So those went away and I have 4x. I need to bring down my equal sign. Okay, now if it was me, I would completely cover up everything except that 4x equals 30, because this right here is my new equation that I want to look at. Okay, I don't really care about anything else up above because I've already done that. I'm simplifying it as I go. I'm getting x all by itself. Okay, so I would then go back and I'm going to highlight. Okay, 4x, that's a variable. So it's blue, okay? My constants, 30, that's a constant, so it's pink. Now, if you notice, we have letters on the left, okay? And we have my numbers on the right, okay? That's what you're going for. So we went letters to the left, numbers to the right. Now we're going to divide, okay? Now you're asking, okay, well, what do I divide by? Well, I want to get this x all by itself, okay? Because remember, I want to find out what just one x equals, okay? So that's my goal. So just like addition is opposite subtraction, what is the opposite of multiplication? Because 4x, they're side by side, that tells us to multiply. So to undo it or take it to the other side, I have to do the opposite. And the opposite is dividing. Okay, so I'm going to divide by 4. Whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. So divide by 4. And then 4 divided by 4 gives me a big fat 1. Okay, and I'm going to slide it over here. So all I have left on that side is just an x. I have one x basically. Okay. And then I would do 30 divided by 4 in my calculator. Okay, so I'll let you plug that in. And what do we get? Hopefully you got 7.5. Okay, and there is my answer. Okay. All right, so we talked about checking by substitution. All that means is that I want to take my solution or my answer and I want to plug it back into my equation and see if I get the same thing on both sides. So let's look at that. All right, I'm going to do it right here. Let's do it in orange. Okay, so I'm going to plug in so I have 4x. What was my original? Plus 6 equals 36. Okay. So I want to plug in 7.5 because that's what I got for my answer anytime I see an x. So I've got 4 here. Now I'm going to plug it in. Okay, so I just plug that directly in. Plus 6 equals 36. Now that's the only x I have, so I'm only going to plug it in once. In your calculator, you would then put that in your calculator. So you do 4, just exactly like you see it. 4 parentheses 7.5, close parentheses plus 6. And let's see what we get. Okay, so hopefully when you plug that in, you got 36. Now I would do the same thing on the other side, but I don't have anything to plug in over there. I just have a constant, and then we can ask ourselves, okay, does 36 equal 36? Yes, it does. So yay, go us, we got it right. Okay, that's a really basic solving equations problem. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, so it says, what is the solution to the following equation? Okay, so again, they're asking for the solution to the equation. They're wanting you to find the value of x alone. We want to get x all by itself. Okay, so we're going to go through these steps. Again, the first thing that I do is I draw a line directly down the middle. Okay, and then I've got 5x minus 2 equals 3x plus 4. Okay, my first step was to distribute. Okay, now I don't have any parentheses, so I can skip that step. Okay, yay. All right, second step, combine like terms. So on the left side, 5x minus 2, is there anything that I can combine? No, there's not. Okay, so I go to the right side. Is there anything that I can combine? And again, there's not, so I can skip that. Okay, so now let's highlight our variables in one color and our constants in another. And we'll just, to keep it consistent, we'll go with blue. So I've got 5x and 3x. Those are my variables, and they're going to be the same color. So I can only combine blue with blue, and then my constants are going to be pink, so I can only combine my constants or my numbers pink with pink. Okay? Now, let's continue going through the process. So we're going to go letters to the left. Okay? So I have this 3x right here. I want to go letters to the left. So I want to move it to the left side of the equal sign. Now, I have to do that by doing the opposite. So what is the opposite of just a regular 3x? Well, technically it's positive, so I'm going to subtract. Okay? Now, whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. Okay? Remember, blue can only combine with blue, variables with variables. Okay? So whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. Okay? 3x minus 3x gives me a big fat 0. Those cancel out. Okay. And then I've got 5x minus 3x. This is exactly like when we combine like terms. Okay, I don't know what the x's are, but that's okay. I know what 5 and minus 3 is. Okay, and then I just keep the variable with it. So 5x minus 3x gives me 2x, and then I'm going to bring everything else down. Okay, so over here, I have a minus 2 left, got my equal sign. My 3x, that went away, it canceled out, and so I'm left with a positive 4 on this side. Okay, so again, if it was me right now, I would completely cover up everything above that blue line because I don't care about it anymore. I'm not looking at that anymore. I have a new expression to look at. Okay, so again, I can highlight. Okay, so there's my variable. Here's my constant, maybe. Hey, yes. Everybody say hi, Crystal. Okay, we are going to now do numbers to the right. Hang on, I can pause this. Okay, we're back. My calculators got delivered today. Okay, so we went letters to the left. Now we're going to do numbers to the right. Okay. Now, I want to move this -2 to the other side of the equal sign. So if it's a -2, I have to do the opposite, always. Okay. So the opposite would be +2. Whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. Okay. -2 plus 2, you could check that in your calculator. It should give you a big fat 0. Those cancel out. Okay. And then I've got a +4 plus 2 equals a +6. And then I bring everything else down. Okay. So each step we do, it is simplifying it more and more. Okay. So just like I told you before, now at this step, I would not look at anything above the purple line. Okay. Because I have a new expression to look at, that 2x equals 6. That's all I'm worried about right now. Okay, so that's why I highly encourage you to draw your line, okay, and make it on notebook paper nice and neat. Okay. Last step, divide, divide. So I want to get x all by itself. Right now it's not by itself. It's got that 2 with it. Okay. Now they're side by side. So that tells us to multiply. Okay, now if I want to undo it and move it to the other side, I have to do the inverse or the opposite. Okay, so I have to divide. All right, so I'm going to divide by that 2, divide by 2, and I get x equals 3. And there's my answer. Okay, so that was a good example of doing letters to the left, numbers to the right, divide, divide. Okay. Now, we do want to check this. So we're going to check it by substitution or plug it in, plug it in. Wherever I see an x, I should be plugging in what number? 3. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to do it over here on the side. We'll do it in black is fine. Okay, so I am going back to my original equation. Now, a lot of people want to skip this step, but I promise you, check your work, okay? And it makes it really easy because you can do it on your graphing calculator, on your TIs, okay? All right, so wherever I see an x, I'm going to plug in the value or the solution of 3. So I have 5, and then I want to plug it in, plug it in. So I'm just going to put it in parentheses. Oh, that's a bad 3, okay? And then I just rewrite the rest of the equation. Okay. Oh, I have another x. So I'm going to plug it in, plug it in. Again, my handwriting is looking real sloppy. Okay. Hopefully yours looks better. All right. Now we want to do one side at a time. So I want you to go ahead and plug in your calculator this side right here. The 5 exactly like you see it. 5 parentheses 3 close parentheses minus 2 and see what you get. And I'll check mine too. Okay, so hopefully when you got that, you got the value of 13. Okay, now we're going to do the other side separately. Okay, so now I want you to plug in this side, this 3 parentheses 3 plus 4. Okay, and so again, you would put that in your calculator exactly like you see it. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, and again, you should have gotten 13. And in order for this to be a true statement, they have to equal each other. So I have 13 equals 13. Is that a true statement? Yes, it is. So yay, again, go us. We got it right. Now let's say that you got something different. Let's say you got 13 on the left side and you got 15 on the right side. Okay? Now, if you got something like that, then you messed up somewhere and you need to go back and see where you messed up. They have to equal each other. Exactly. So you couldn't have 13 on the left side and 13.1 on the right side. They have to be exactly the same. Okay. Otherwise, it's not a true statement. They don't equal each other. All right. Okay. Last problem. Y'all are doing such a good job. Hang in there. We're almost done. All right. Okay. So this one says, what value of x makes the following equation true? Okay. So then they're giving us 9n plus 2 minus 7n equals 4 plus 2, parentheses, 5n plus 7. Okay. Now, let's go through. Step 1 tells us to distribute. So do I see any parentheses in this? Yes, I do. And it's on the right side. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my line down the middle. Okay. But now I have to take care of that parentheses first. I have to clear them before I can do anything else. So if I look, I've got this plus 2 that I need to distribute to everything in the parentheses. Okay, so I have got 2 times 5n, which gives me 10n. Okay, and then 2 times 7 gives me plus 14. Okay, now I am just going to bring everything else down. Okay, I'm also going to bring everything else down on the other side. Okay, now I have something completely new to look at. This no longer applies. So you could even mark it out if you wanted to. Okay, I have something new to look at. So step 1, distribute, clear your parentheses. We did that, no more parentheses. Step 2, combine like terms on the left side and then separately on the right side. So I need to look on the left. Is there anything that I can combine together? Okay, and there is. I have a 9n here minus 7n. So I need to combine those first. If I combine those, a 9n minus 7n gives me 2n. Then I'm just going to bring everything else down, including my equal sign. Now I'm going to look at the right side. Do I have anything that I can combine? Okay, and I do. I have a 4 here, and then I have a regular 14 right here. So those two are constants, and I can combine them. What's 4 plus 14? Well, 4 plus 14 gives me 18, and then I've got plus 10n. I just bring that straight down. Okay, so now I have something that is exactly like this. Okay, just like the one we just did. We just had to do those first 2 steps to get it there. We're making each step makes it nicer and nicer and nicer. Okay, all right, so we're going to go letters to the left. So let's highlight my letters or my variables. Okay. And then let's highlight your constants. And I'm not going to go over them because I used red. Not very smart. Okay. All right. So we're going to go letters to the left. Okay. What is the opposite of a plus 10n? You have to do the inverse. So the opposite of adding something is subtracting it. Whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other. Let's see if I can erase this. Yay. Is it working? Let's see if I can erase it here. There we go. Give us a little more room. Okay. All right. So I've got minus 10n. Whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. Okay. All right. So I've got a positive 10n. That's supposed to be minus. It's like doubling up on me. Okay. So I've got a positive 10n minus 10n. Again, you could put those in your calculator, but that gives me a big fat 0. Okay, they cancel each other out. Okay, now over here on the left, you have 2 minus 10. So in your calculator, you would put it in exactly like you read it. So I would say 2 minus 10. That will prevent you from making sign mistakes. Okay, when I do that, I get a negative, oh my Lord. That's a big negative. Okay, negative 8n. Okay, and then I'm going to bring everything else down. Okay, I can go back and highlight. So I went letters to the left. Now I'm going to do numbers to the right. Okay. Oh, going too far. So right now, I would ignore everything above that blue line. Okay, because I don't need it anymore. Each step is getting simpler and simpler and simpler. So we went letters to the left. Now we're going to go numbers to the right. Okay, so how do I get rid of a plus 2? Well, I do the opposite. So the opposite of adding something is subtracting it. That's a really bad 2. Let me redo that. Continue my line. Whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. Okay, so a positive 2 minus 2 gives me 0. Okay, those cancel out. Okay. And then I've got 18 minus 2, which gives me 16. And then I bring everything else down. So I've got negative 8n equals. Oops. Need to slide this up a little bit. There we go. Okay. Let's undo that. Okay, so I've got negative 8n equals 16. I'm sorry I scrunched it in there, okay? So if you notice, I went letters to the left, numbers to the right. So now I've got blue on one side, and then I've got pink on the other. Yay, okay? Now we divide, all right? And now you're asking, okay, well, what do I divide by? Well, I want that n or that variable by itself. So whatever is with it, I need to undo by division. So I'm going to divide by 8, divide by negative 8. Those give me a big fat 1 because a negative 8 divided by negative 8 gives me 1. So I'm left with n. And then I would put that in my calculator. 16 divided by a negative 8 gives me a negative 2. And then that's my answer. Now is where you would go back and you would check by substitution. You would take that negative 2, and wherever you see an n, you're going to plug it in. Okay? And then I would put that in my calculator. And if you get both the same number on both sides, then yay, you did it right. Okay? Solving equations letters to the left, numbers to the right, divide, divide. Okay, y'all have a good day.